9 minutes after 4 o'clock, good afternoon, and how are you doing? This is Eric Latiff on Talk360 right here on 98.4 Capital FM. Today we are privileged to have two gentlemen in the studio. One of them is, of course, Dr. Alfred Mutua. He is the government spokesman. And the other one is a photo activist, Boniface Mwangi. Today we're going to discuss the whole issue about the vultures. That's what Boniface Mwangi has been keeping himself busy with the last couple of months. But before we do that, we'd like to, first of all, extend our deepest condolences to the families of those who've perished in Garissa. A very heinous act that happened this morning. People walked in to two churches, opened fire, hurled grenades at them. People have died, innocent people. And the first thing that I want to ask you, Dr. Mutua, is what's the latest? What's the update? What do you know? What do we not know? What are we going to do?
Well, what we've been able to piece together is that we had people walked in one of the places. Actually, two attackers walked in, shot the police officers who are guarding that particular church, because the churches there have been guarded since the last attack, took their AK-47 guns and used those guns against parishioners. And as you know, they attacked two churches, a Catholic church and also an AIC church. These are criminals, and what we appeal to wananchi, the government is trying to do as much as it can, but you see, these people did not cross the border this morning or yesterday to come into Kenya and plan to attack the churches. These are people who are living within the community in Garissa.
Indeed.
Somebody somewhere in Garissa knows them. Somebody somewhere served them a drink last night or this morning or yesterday sometime or sold them something, including airtime. So somebody somewhere must know these people, not just because just like that. They must know these are the criminals and these are the people who carried out these attacks. And we are calling upon members of the public, wherever you might be, fighting terrorism and fighting criminal activity is not the work of just a government or the police. We have the responsibility, all of us, to play our role and to say enough is enough. We're not going to let criminals live among us.
Now, I can say that obviously people know that they need to take part in their own security. But then there are some issues. There's some instances, Dr. Mutua, when we hear that people complain, people tell the authorities, so-and-so, the family of so-and-so, we know two young people, two young boys or two young girls who have been recruited by the militia, the Al-Shabaab. They've crossed over into Somalia. I know I have a friend who comes from Marsabit, and this gentleman was telling me the other day that he knows, and everybody in the village knows, so-and-so's sons and daughters have crossed over into Somalia. And yet the authorities seem to be doing nothing about it.
Well, if they have crossed over to the border, what the authorities what we do is that we want everybody who knows of any kid that has crossed over to Somalia to be on alert, so that when they come back, because they are going there to be indoctrinated, they are going there to be taught how to hate their mothers and their fathers and their brothers and their sisters. They are going there to be hate, to use violence and suicide bombings to kill their own blood. So when they come back, we are asking people to let the authorities know that so's and so's son, who was away in Somalia for so long, is now back. So that now we can take appropriate action. But because we don't know them, we can't have a police officer living in the same house as the family for those 2 years when they are missing. So we don't know. But as they come back, a neighbor, a relative who loves this country, knows that this kid is now a time bomb, went there to be indoctrinated, is not of right mind, has come back to kill. And it is on the honors of that responsible citizen to tell the chief, to go to the DC, to write a letter to the government, to office of the president, say, I live in this place, this kid was gone, this kid is back. Can you do something about it? And I can assure you, action will be taken very, very fast.
Boniface, I can see you smiling. Well, as a citizen of this country, what do you have to say about it?
I think the problem is deeper than Al-Shabaab. The problem is deeper than Al-Shabaab because indoctrination comes because of there's a vacuum right there. The young people in Garissa, the reason why they're going to Somalia to work for Al-Shabaab or any other militias because they're unemployed and they're frustrated by their government, and they don't even love this country because they haven't been given a reason to love this country. We go back to history and you remember the Wagala massacre, where the Kenya government treated the whole Somalis as shifters. So there's a possibility if I was a Somali young man, if I went to the police and I'm a Kenyan, they're going to arrest me as a suspect. So, and it's actually a bigger problem of this whole country, where you have a lot of young people who are unemployed, they are angry and they join the militia, and the government response is executions.
Are these
So
people
right
educated,
now-
Boniface?
now-
There's a whole issue of frustration and everything.
Yes.
But here is a point where you're frustrated, you go, you're trained, you come back, you kill people, you kill your own cousins, you kill your own brothers and sisters. I
And-
mean, when you hurl a grenade, and we're not talking about, it's not about the Somali community. We have seen police telling us that some of these people who've been indoctrinated, some are Luo, some are Kikuyu, some
Yeah,
are
Luyas, they are
Kisii.
Kambas.
Why is
Lawyer.
that happening?
Yeah.
Why is that happening? Because you're not telling me like you can come to me and have a job and have a family that I care about to go and fight for you or kill anyone. But because there's a problem in the society that these young people have no other place to turn to. The reason why people join militia or join some of those groups is because they find company in misery. They find that the frustration is being felt and being understood in that kind of company. So I think we go back to where did we go wrong? That these young people have a reason where they go to. We need to address that root problem, because you can't be telling guys they're going there just for the sake of doing it.
Let me chip into that, and I think he's right and he's also very wrong. We are right because yes, when there's a vacuum, young people seek to find identity and places to go to. I mean, it happens in every country.
Yeah.
You go to the US, the young people join the neo-Nazis. You go find young people join the gangs, the Mexican gang, the African American gangs, the white gangs in LA, in New York. So that vacuum occurs, and that's a normal phenomenon. Happens in Nigeria, happens in all the countries, in Kenya, in Uganda. Everywhere you'll find people join gangs and other places. The dynamism here is different because here people are recruited. Somebody takes advantage of the vulnerable people, and it happens everywhere. Now you find in a country like, for example, Nigeria, they don't have Somali next to them. You don't have people who come in with words of cash who promise that we're going to make your life much better. So you've got young, confused people, unemployed because of our state of economy and where we are in the world today. And just like the ganglands that happen in Chicago or in Detroit or the ones I saw in Atlanta, they are lured by promises of a better life and they are able to be sucked in. But at the end of the day, we want to ask this. Does that mean just because you don't have a job? Does that mean just because there are frustrations in the economy? Does it mean just because you're looking at life and it's bleak in front of you? Does that mean that it is okay for you to take a gun, walk into a church and kill innocent people, mothers, fathers and children?
Who
Does
have
that make
nothing
it
to
right?
do- who would never even employ you.
What political governance, historical injustice will justify anybody taking a gun and killing innocent women and children while they are kneeling down to pray to God?
You know,
It is wrong. And so let us not at times mix criminal activity with other hardship of youth and other things. We have to draw a line as a community. Otherwise, everything will be excused. Because young people cannot get jobs, they can go and rape women. Because young people cannot get jobs, because the state of governmental injustice has been happening, they can go and do bad things. I think we need to shift away from trying to excuse criminal and terrorism activities and blaming it on economic
everything
or
else.
governance
think
stories.
I want to
We can
respond
talk
to that.
we can talk about what to do about the youth. We can talk about how to save our country in terms of empowering the youth, and talk about where we need to go as a country to make sure that our youth are not frustrated. But let us not at any time, and I will not allow anybody to justify murderers by saying that the state of
frustration.
country is because of frustration. How many young people in this country are frustrated, and how many people are killing each other?
Alfred Mutua. Okay, let me laugh.
No,
Because-
don't laugh, because
You know,
today some family
you know,
is
you know,
sleeping.
I
Wait
know,
a minute.
understand.
Somebody somewhere
What-
right now.
What is your
Sounds-
point, Alf?
No,
You know,
my
what
your
sounds
point?
like you
My-
don't know what this
my
government-
point is this. No, I'm very unhappy that he's laughing because there's somebody somewhere crying right now because their mother is dead. There's somebody somewhere crying right now because their young brother is dead. There's somebody somewhere crying because their father has just been shot by a terrorist. And here you say you are laughing. I think you
Boniface,
owe people of
are you-
Kenya
are you
an
laughing?
apology.
Can I respond to Alfred? Because
Yes.
the joke is on him. The joke
I didn't
is
know
on-
there's a joke here, actually. But
No, it's very serious,
Let's
my
just hear
brother.
what you
The
have
joke
to
is
say.
on him because this government has been stealing money, and that's the reason why there are those problems. This government that he's talking about, or the government, you can't justify. I'm not justifying violence, but what is very, very annoying that the people who steal from the poor, NHIF, Anglo-Leasing, Goldenberg, they steal billions of money. People die, but he doesn't get that angry and upset. So here you have him getting so worked up about these things, which is very good, and sounding very self-righteous about this issue, knowing very, very well where the corruption is. The problems lies in the government. It's the government's work to provide those employments. When Kibaki came into power 9 years ago, he promised 500,000 jobs that were never created. So when he sounds like an activist. If I was listening on radio, I think he's someone who is actually attacking the government. The government
is actually taking up your role.
The government that Alfred Mutua is serving is the reason why we have these problems. The reason why those accidents happen. Let me tell you, the intelligence chief.
Let me interrupt you here. Let me interrupt you because you're misleading the people of Kenya. Let's talk about corruption first of all.
Yes.
Corruption is a cancer that has really eaten into this country. We all agree that. We all know that. Corruption has led to a lot of problems, and we've got corruption that started in the 1960s. We hear our politicians talking about all these theft from the times of Chef Kubwa and all that, yes. Now, it is important for you to note one thing. Corruption is not carried out by what you say government. Corruption is carried out by sick individuals who happen to gain power and get into government. Let me tell you. But let me tell you. No, I'm not saying. No, you're calling them corrupt. I'm not calling anybody corrupt. I'm saying
individuals.
Let me chip in here. Let me chip in here and take this direction.
Let me just finish this point, if you don't mind. There are sick people out there who come and steal from young people and from the women of this country. When somebody gets into a deal, Anglo leasing and all these other corrupt activities, it makes me very, very angry too. Because there is that woman who lives maybe in Mathare, in Kibera, in Kawangware, in Eldoret, in a slum, who goes and buys what is called blue band ya kadogo.
Yep.
Or I saw another woman sometimes saying, unaweza nipimia chumvi ya kijiko mbili. Because all she has is 50 shillings.
And that
salt has VAT loaded into it. And somebody is stealing state resources. That means they're actually stealing the VAT of this poor woman. It is totally unacceptable. What I'm saying is that as we look for the solutions of this country, we need to be pragmatic. We need to look at where is the problem and where are we going. The people of this country rose up and said they needed a new constitution. They are tired with impunity. And it is our President Mwai Kibaki, together with Raila Odinga and the government, that ushered in and worked hard to get this new constitution so that we can have business unusual from now henceforth. Now it is the time for the youth of this country to rise up and say, we are going to ride on this new wave. We're going to take advantage of the new system. The era of President Mwai Kibaki, Raila Odinga and the others is basically gone. They have lived their lives. And they may have a few more years in governance, but their lives are young. You're a young man over here. You have more of your life ahead of you than behind you. So how do you galvanize yourself and say, how do I take advantage
What's the way forward?
Of this new formula and move on? Throwing blame and aspersions doesn't get you anywhere. What young people need, let's talk solutions.
Which is what I want.
Let's talk solutions.
Which is what I want this discussion to be about.
But let's talk about
Hold on, Boniface. This is what I want the discussion to be about. What we've been having is we have identified what we don't want. We all know what we don't want. We do not want corruption. We don't want thugs. We don't want terrorists. We don't want uneducated people. We don't want educated people who are unemployed. Yeah. We want to create jobs. We want to do all these things. How do we get the leadership that we want? How do we get the governance that we want? Which is why I invited you here, Boniface, because you have been very active in identifying and in carrying out the graffiti campaign that you had, showing us the vultures, which is a very good thing because you remind us that we have put these people in power, yet this is what they're doing to us. You had a campaign the other day, you participated as a co-convener of it, you went to Parliament, you left coffins there, and you were telling us we want to bury you, the lot of you, in these coffins. Now, we are very good at voting out people. We don't vote in people, which is where the problem comes in. And that's why I'll have you here, and I want to ask you, now that we are voting out the entire lot of 210 people that we voted in, who do you want us to vote in?
I think we need to first define good leadership, because Kenyans don't even know what they want. That's the biggest challenge. So we know what we don't want, those the vultures, but we don't know what you want. Because of bad leadership and the guys who serve us are not giving us solutions, so we survive by guys who just come and be. They never do anything. So one of the things that we're trying to encourage people is that the new constitution offers you a chance to vie as an independent. And we're telling guys, first let's identify people who can vie, men and women of integrity, people who have a proven track record, who have done things in the past, and you can see where they're coming from, because the guys who are vying, actually, most of them are actually returning either into politics, or you have stolen money from the public sector and then you want to protect your cash. So we're trying to ask, why can't, especially the middle class and the guys who have solutions for this country, why can't they run? Our politics is so dirty, people are afraid to vie. So what you're trying to do is create an environment where people can be courageous enough to vie and challenge authority, that they can be courageous enough to say that let's enforce chapter 6 of the constitution, leadership and integrity. And once we do that, most of the guys who are in parliament won't be vying. But if they don't be vying, who comes into that position? That's the biggest question. So our prayer is that as we continue saying these are the vultures, that we may encourage people to vie. Because if they don't vie, all the work that we're doing now will be in vain. Because as we attack these people and as we call them names the way we do it, it won't help anyone if there's no one who's going to challenge them. It won't help anyone if the people who are the guys who are running and the guys who are the forefront, the guys who are likely to become a president are all these vultures. But there's another possibility that if we get at least a few members of parliament, a few governors in this country going into parliament, then we will start the change. When you have dirty water, you don't throw all of it out. If you just put some clean water and clean water and clean water, with time it's going to become cleaner. So let's just start cleaning the system.
Here's my question.
I totally agree.
The question here is, if you look at the past 4 elections, for example, over 60% of MPs are voted out. We bring in a whole new, keep bringing in fresh water into that parliament. It's not been working. That fresh water comes in, it's made dirty by the 30% that we retain, because there's a constant 30% that is never touched. Is that 30% the problem?
Well, can I reply that? I think you're making an assumption. Let me first say that I totally agree with him that the solution is not just calling people names. The solution is bringing in the right people. But
so you don't agree the vultures tag?
It's okay. I mean, it's activism. You can take to the streets. At the end of the day, people just laugh at you. They go back to bed. What is important? What is important is changing things practically. You can make noise, and at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. What you need to do is find solutions that will make sure that the voters out there are voting the right people. You're making an assumption that the 60% that go in is contaminated by the 40% they find in there. But you're assuming that 60% that go in is cleaner than the 40% that is in there. Maybe the problem is that the 60% that goes is replaced by 60% that is just similar.
Same bad thing.
To this was, that's a debate that can be had. There are a lot of very good members of parliament. There are a lot of very good people in government. There are a few bad apples that really contaminate and do a lot of bad things that shouldn't be done. But I think our biggest problem, and I think this is where you're alluding, is in terms of what kind of leader do Kenyans want? What kind of people should be voted in? Because what usually happens, you find that the richest thief in the village is one that is a hero, is one that is voted in. This person has been stealing from you as a community, you vote them in, and then you expect something to change. So there's that voter education program. I was sitting down one time, we had a discussion within the government with the president and others, and it was discussed that we need to enlighten the voter. And my office is actually preparing right now booklets to tell people the kind of leaders that they want, that tie into the integrity chapter, that tie into Vision 2030 aspirations, that tie into the dreams of the youth of this country, so that people are actually enlightened. We're going to carry a civic education program to tell people, okay, because here we live in Nairobi.
So in the civic education, you want to tell us?
We want to tell people. We want to give people a choice. We want to tell people the different. Let me just finish. Let me just finish. Let me just finish.
Disagree is because the government has very, very good about washing things. So, for example, the government wants to do civic education about what leaders we want and how we are going to fight corruption, and it's not even fighting corruption within its ranks. Kibaki has been in power for the last 9 years. Not a single minister has been jailed for corruption. Every single person in there, we know there's corruption, there's all these things. Alfred Mutua here wasted our money, went to Mombasa Road, poured stones, cut trees and planted stones. He did that. Alfred Mutua was on TV talking about Oscar Kingara and GPO, how Oscar Kingara is a bad man. The same day Oscar Kingara died, extrajudicial killings. So you talk about a government that kills young people, the government that steals from itself, the maize scandal, same thing, Prime Minister. And here Alfred Mutua wants to tell us the government is very serious about fighting corruption and educating the masses. I think it's time we tell you what we want as young people. What we want is a peaceful ballot revolution where we take you guys out, because I know you're vying, Alfred Mutua, and I don't even know what you've done in the last 9 years.
Let me just hold on. You've called me a few names here.
I haven't called you names.
No.
He has a right to.
You've called me names here. I never cut any trees down. I have never stolen anything from anybody. I have never stolen a cent
You wasted our
from
taxes by
anybody.
planting
I have
stones
never
on
I have
Mombasa
never
Road.
planted stones.
What did you do?
We did an initiative that did not cost us zero. People volunteered to carry out things. My friend, when you're talking about things, can you educate yourself so that you know what you're talking about?
No.
Do not throw aspirations
words,
as
what's-
passions
I'm not
about
throwing
things,
aspersions.
because you can
Alfred
be
Mutua.
accused of defamation. You
can
can be
accuse me
accused of
anything you
defamation,
want,
everything.
But didn't you?
But you see,
In
one
other
of the
words,
one,
what
one of the
you're
most
saying, Dr. Mutua,
Yes,
is
is that
the
what-
Mombasa Road beautification
Yes,
project
yes.
didn't cost the government
It
any
didn't cost
money.
us- we
It
had
was-
volunteers that come in. People contributed to bring in new ideas. We never cut down any trees, and we
Are you
expanded.
sure
We are
you didn't
trying
do
to
that?
Yes, show me the records. Show me the records.
I'll show you
Talk
the records.
about the
You're on
things.
radio. How can I show you
No,
records on
sure.
the radio?
No,
so
but
what
bring
you're
them forward.
saying
But
is
what I'm
that
saying is
that
that
project,
what he needs
that
to do
project was clean and
was
that,
clean.
that
I have never misused any funds.
you just met vultures
I
who
have
came and fought the
never.
project.
I'm one of the people who are actually been on the forefront decrying wastage of government resources and also the stealing of government resources. So, my friend, before you throw any aspersions at me,
when you
no, let me
decry
finish.
and they steal,
My friend, let me tell you.
what do you do then?
When you throw any aspersions at me, you need to understand who I am and
You're
where
the
I come
government
from, because
spokesman.
I am not
Yes.
just because I'm government spokesman
And
does
you're paid
not
by
mean
our
that I don't
taxes.
have integrity and credibility, and just because I have that job does not give you a right to personally attack me.
I'm not personally
because I
attacking
can
you.
start digging dirt on you and attacking you, but I
Dig,
don't do
I
that.
have no dirt.
What people at
Dig
home,
all you
Eric,
want.
what
It's-
your viewers, what your listeners want to hear
What
at
we
home,
want, yes.
what they want to hear at home is that what can we do to change this country? What can we do as young people? And I'm actually I was a big supporter of yours until now. I'm very disappointed at you because you're talking about a grand revolution. Now, tell us, how will the grand revolution roll? What is stage A, stage B, stage C? So that now we can contribute with ideas
There's a point
and
that
move forward.
There's a point that Boniface
this
raised, and
throwing
I'd like us
these-
to move on
yeah.
to that point.
Yeah,
and the point
let's
that
walk
Boniface
forward,
raised.
don't insult people.
I'm not
Hold on.
insulting
and
you.
try and
Dr.
try to
Dr.
gain,
Mutua,
you know.
hold on,
You're
gentlemen.
fine.
Yeah.
What are
There's
you
a
buying?
point.
On what
There's a point that
platform?
the two of you raised. The first point was that you said that the government wants to come up with a civic education
Exactly,
campaign,
yeah.
and in this platform, you'd like to educate the people on what kind of leadership that they should seek.
And what I was saying, what I was trying to finish was saying that we want to tell people that these are the quality of leaders that are foreseen, that can lead this country forward.
Yeah.
But we don't just want to do that as government. We want to encourage the civil society, want to encourage others, including the church, to also take what the government is doing. If the government says these are the kind of leaders that you want to do, want to encourage him to also go out there and also launch his own campaign to reinforce and maybe even come up with better ideas of the kind of leaders we want. Because collectively as a people, if we all chip in, we will come up with a blueprint that will be able to tell our people that somebody who gives you 50 cents
Is
or
not.
50 shillings to vote for you is not the right leader.
And
That's
and
what we want.
Boniface,
We want to work together. Not, most of the time activists like him gain their strength from attack. And we are saying, as young people, we can attack, or we can galvanize, join hands, and with that power, we can conquer
move forward.
and change this country.
And the point
That's
that
my
Boniface
question.
raised. Now,
Yes.
I'm controlling the show. The point that Boniface raised at this point was you'd like Boniface to be able to have a civic education campaign in which the young people like yourself are actually telling the government this is the kind of leader that we want.
Yes.
So here are two things. One is the government wants to facilitate civic education, and the other thing is the voter would like to actually say this is the kind of leader that I want. Now, can we merge these two together?
Okay, my question is, why should I listen to people who have been in power for the last 49 years, who have looted this country, who have no solutions, who have not prosecuted a single...
I'll tell you why.
big
Because
thief?
you have voted them in for the last 49 years.
Yes.
So,
what I'm
it's
saying
upon
is,
you now to decide
enough-
what you want.
enough
No,
of
no.
doing things the same old way.
Can I add a question now?
Yes.
Don't listen to the people who you say have looted. Don't listen to the government. Don't listen to any government project, any government things. Now, can you give us ideas? Can you share with people at home ideas of how we should proceed? Stop. Forget the government, forget the people who've stolen. You not change that. Now, can you tell us ideas? I'm listening now. People at home want to hear ideas. Give us 10 ideas of how we should move forward, and then I'll give you 10 ideas. We join them, and then people at home are much wiser listening to us.
Very good.
Yes, go ahead.
So, very simple. We need to empower people with the right information. Because we have been able to, guys who are vying have been involved in most corruption cases, like the guys who are in power right now. have been involved in some of the biggest scandals. So what we're trying to do is collect information. It becomes freely, openly to the public, that when someone is running, they were born in this village, this is how much they have, this is how much they own, this is how they got their wealth, and they've been promising for the last 20 years they're going to do this, they've never done anything. It's upon you to do that. We are doing university tour and high school tours and polytechnics, talking to young guys who are opinion leaders and finding ways to talk to them, so when they go back to their village, they can empower the villagers back home, because Kenyans don't understand the power of their vote. We just vote and say, sinisawa too, even if I don't vote, they're going either to steal the vote or they're going to rig themselves in. So telling guys to understand their vote. And our call is, my vote is my voice and it's our collective future. That the way you vote determines how I'm going to live in the next 5 years. We're telling young Kenyans that we all need to get a selfish reason to do something for this country. That for me, it's my kids. What's your selfish reason? And then we join all our selfish reasons and then build a better country. Because if Kenya is safe, we are all safe. That you don't have to, that Garissa thing is, that incident is regrettable. It doesn't have to happen in Garissa, because Kenya is all safe. So we want to find ways that guys understand the power of the vote, because Kenyans don't understand the power of the vote. Because when the people that we vote in and come with their manifesto, they go to parliament or they go to power, they never implement them. The other thing is, our politics is not ideology based. It's name calling. People just bash each other. So people need to understand that government is not abuse or calling each other names. There's more to that in government, and there's more to that in public office. That why would people be bribing you to go into power to serve you?
Yeah.
Those are the hard questions. But what is very regrettable is that when the government is preaching peace or preaching these things, they do not enforce the same laws. When you tell me about you're going to talk about civic education and about corruption free, and one of the people serving in the same government as a DPM has been accused of crimes against humanity, but he's still a candidate. I think if this country had good standards, some people wouldn't be on the ballot. I saw the government responding to Jirongo accusations. Jirongo was Y2K. And you look at this guy's track records and what they have done, but still the government has the audacity to respond to those kind of people, showing very well we are all rotten, and what we need to do is now get the young people to say what they want and go for it. Because if you look at the government for solutions, the solutions won't come.
The solutions have not been coming. In the studio on Talk 360 today is photo activist Boniface Mwangi and government spokesman Dr. Alfred Mutua. And of course, as always, this issue is live on discussion on our social media. If you go to Facebook, my Facebook page, Eric Latiff, and also on a Capital FM Kenya Facebook page, the question we are asking is, it's very clear that Kenyans know the leaders you do not want. The question today is, do you know the leader that you want? You can contribute that. And also on Twitter, the hashtag is Talk360. Hashtag is Talk360. You know the kind of leader you want. Please tell this gentleman in the studio and tell yourselves the kind of leader that you want. I'm seeing here some comments. Michael Kamau says, we know the qualities that we are looking for in leadership. Getting the qualified candidates is the biggest challenge. If they're all vultures, you just have to pick one. Abstaining is worse.
That's very funny. There are two things that he said that I'd like to jump on. The first thing he said is that it's important for the young people to know about the importance of their vote, the power of the vote. Now, unfortunately, and this is where I hope all of us can join hands and help, our youth don't really vote. If you look at the statistics of the last general election, our youth don't vote. It's a public holiday the following day. What happens? People go out, hang out. Most of them, they don't vote as many. So you find the group of people, the age group that is voting, is a very different age group than the ones we are targeting. So in addition to telling people to get angry and to choose the leader they want, we also want to encourage a very high turnout of young people who have more of a stake to this country. And I think that's something you can also do in addition to doing that. You also said, and I think it's very good, I don't want to regress, but it's very good to say that we need a country that doesn't live on name calling.
Yep.
We need a country that people do not just pick a microphone and the first thing they do is try to pull other people down. We need a country where people are able to discuss ideas and the way to move forward and the way to help our pregnant women so they're not giving birth at home, so they can be able to get the clinics that they need. We get the leaders and the money diverted in the right manner to do those things. But my friend here, the first thing you did was start calling me names and doing these things. I'm just saying. So preach and drink what
the
you
same
do.
wine.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, my friend, you cannot in one microphone. You cannot in one microphone talk about one thing. And the way you're behaving is different. Yes, but what I'm saying is that don't spend your energy. I'm just giving you a piece of advice. I'm a bit older than you, not by
But
much.
Alfred
But
Mutua,
don't spend your time
can you
just
tell me
calling
one
names.
achievement that you have in government?
You
and
will,
in as a PS?
you see, you're still calling names.
No,
Let me
I'm
tell
asking you, tell me.
I'm telling you. Let's spend your energy, and let us join hands and spend our energies in coming up with solutions to help our young people.
Alfred Mutua.
You know, mothers wake up in the morning and they look at their kids sitting in front of them. These kids have graduated from university. School fees was paid. And these kids have no jobs. Why don't they have jobs? Because our economy...
The government has failed.
Our economy has not grown as fast as it should. 2007, before the post-election violence, our economy was growing at 7%. We took to the streets. We killed each other. Our economy dropped back to 1.2%. When the economy is down there is no way jobs can be created. So as a people, one of the messages we need to pass to people is that we need to have peace in this country.
Okay,
we need to abhor violence. Let me finish. It's not about
higher salary. Guys are not paying taxes.
Let me finish the point, please.
I don't understand.
Let me finish.
You're in the government.
Let me
talking about like there's another government.
No. I'm not talking about another government. I'm talking about the people of Kenya. People of Kenya. What we are calling upon is that all of us need to realize that every time we engage in violence, like we did in the year 2008, it takes our country back. It leads to more misery. It leads to more poverty.
Jail the culprits of post-election violence.
Our young people today.
The culprits have been jailed, haven't they?
Yeah,
they're in power, they're in government. The sponsors, you know, when you go for a guy who killed.
The problem is that we are going for the small fish.
Yes,
we don't go for the big fish.
We've got cases in the International Criminal Court. We've got due process.
And the government
sent. We have done.
You're trying to withdraw Kenya from the ICC. That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Withdraw Kenya from the ICC.
Yeah. What's your point?
My point is, this government has been covering up for post-election violence. This government has not arrested the culprits of post-election violence. This government is in the habit of killing young people. And I was asking about Oscar Kingara, because Oscar Kingara, you mentioned him, and the same day he died. What is your role in that?
I have no role in that, and I made that very clear. It was very, very unfortunate, and all investigation have shown that either somebody took advantage of it or something happened. But what I'm saying is that this country right now, every time I travel around this country, everybody asks me a question: will we have a peaceful election? I can't remember the last time within the last 3 months anybody has asked me about even the big things like corruption that everybody should be asking about, or other things. People, mothers at home and fathers at home and young people are worried about, are we going to have a peaceful election? Are we going to have violence? Are we going to have people taking to the streets, carrying coffins, sending messages of danger is lurking across the street, there's going to be death across the street? Or do we have peace, people walking around and telling people we have to learn to live together? It does not matter where you are born. It does not matter what tribe you are. It does not matter whether you are a man or a woman, whether you are able or disabled. It doesn't matter. You are a Kenyan and you have a right to live, work and travel anywhere in this country.
Dr. Mutua,
we need to hold hands for that.
Fred Gitudu is telling you on Twitter that we killed each other because of vultures.
And we did. And
that
is one of the things that we need to realize, that if every person decides that we need to embrace peace, it will mean that the people who come in screaming war and screaming hate will not be accepted in our community. And that's very important. I agree with you that action needs to be taken against anybody who participated in whatever way into the killing of our people. But as a community, we also need to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what is happening? Why did we raise up and kill our brothers and sisters? People who lived next to us, just because somebody is a Kikuyu, a Kamba, a Kalenjin, a Luo, a Luya. Why did I rise up and kill that person? Because that person actually never did anything wrong to me. So we also need to look at, as a country, spiritually, from our churches.
Self-value.
Should anybody in this world tell you to rise up and kill somebody who's not done anything for you, against you, and you do it? You know what I mean? So we need to actually find out.
Boniface, I'd like to ask you one straight question, Boniface. Yes. Are you a registered voter?
Yes, I am. But now the old voters' cards are expired. You have to register again.
So will you be
IBC.
registering?
I'm going to do that.
Have you identified your constituency?
Yes, Tarehe. That's where I grew up.
Starehe constituency, Nairobi County.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of a kind of governor that you're going to have in Nairobi?
I know the crooks are vying, so we're waiting for the right people to vie.
You're waiting for the right people.
Yes.
Do you know the kind of MP that you're going to have?
At the moment, no.
Do you know the kind of senator that you're going to have?
At the moment, no.
Do you know the kind of county assembly member that you're going to have?
At the moment, no.
You have less than 6 months. Now, you are out there on the streets.
Yes.
You're preaching, you're telling us that the current MP, the current councillor that you have,
Yeah.
the current president that you have, the current minister that we have, is a vulture.
Yes.
Give us a solution. Start with yourself, Boniface Mwangi, in Starehe constituency. What do you want?
I want to live in a safer city because Starehe is part of this. Nairobi city is part of Starehe, that you can walk at night and you're feeling safe. There's reliable public transport. Our kids go to school and their teachers in the schools. But now, my problem is, as we talk about these vultures, my problem is, and our biggest challenges as a country, is that people who should vie, the people who have solutions are not vying because politics is dirty. So what is my role now? My role is to inform and empower young people to realize what kind of leaders we want and find ways to encourage and create a conducive environment for them to run, because politics is so expensive and so dirty. But why can't we clean our politics and make it that even if you're broke and you have no money, you can vie and you're going to elect?
When you talk of cleaning the politics, what exactly are you talking about?
I'm talking about getting the right people vying for those, men and women of integrity vying for those posts. So you get the right people vying, so that when you go to the ballot box, you don't have an option between a vulture and a lesser vulture and a baby vulture. You're going to get a vulture, but you have X, you have an eagle, or another option.
Have you identified anybody from your constituency who you should support as a good person to vie? Have you identified anybody, or just leaving it to fate?
We're in the process of doing that, actually, because you're saying, so as we continually attack the vultures and say these guys have done that.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I'm not calling people names, but I'm not afraid to name and shame, because it's important that we put names to the guys involved in corruption. It's important that we realize this country had clashes in 1992, which Moi perfected in 1997. 2002 took a small break, then went back to 2007. There's a possibility there will be violence again. So it's very important, very, very important that we name those people involved, and hopefully they can be shamed to go into retirement. You're talking about revenge. You're talking about you have stolen so much, you have messed up, retire and go home, and hopefully William Mutunga will come after you. So the law will be enforced. But for now, we need solutions, and that's what I want to find out, because Alfred Mutua is vying. What is he going to do? Because we're talking about, because we need someone to challenge Alfred Mutua. He has been government for 9 years. What has he done? So I would like to know, he's going to vie. What is he vying? What is he going to do? So that the person who's listening back home where Alfred Mutua comes from can challenge him.
Alfred Mutua, do you want to vie for public office?
Well, I'm considering. You see, there comes a time, as we always say, as that expression has been said, that you have to look at what is important in this country and what kind of leadership do you want going on in this country, and what contribution do you have in this country. It is not important whether I vie or somebody else vies. What to me is important is that the people of Kenya are able to make choices based on wisdom, not on ignorance. That the people of this country are able to rise up together and say, it does not matter what anybody tells them, how much money is poured, that nobody will raise a finger against somebody's child, that nobody will hit somebody, that nobody will attack somebody, that nobody will kill somebody because of politics. And I think that's what we want to move on as a country, because you cannot have any development, you can't have any stability, you can't have anything meaningful like providing employment if there is no peace and stability. And I want to talk about peace. Is avoiding talking about peace because people at times don't like talking about peace. It's not as sweet as talking about maybe the women we adore, but peace is so instrumental and the basics of everything that we do. And the more of us who can preach peace and stability and unity, the better country that we're going to have. We've had very bad mistakes that have been done. We have institutions that are working. I'm glad you talked about Dr. Willie Mutunga and the judiciary. We've got all these commissions that are working. Let them do their job properly. The crooks, as they say, siku za mwizi nini ni 40 watapatikana. Kama umeiba mali wenyewe utapatikana. People, I always tell people that you see somebody senior stealing money, and then whenever they are told to step aside or everything, you hear people crying, oh, our community is being finished. Nobody steals money for their community. people steal money for their own self and for their children and for their wives and for their, you know what I mean, their friends. They steal money so they can send their kids to England. They can send their kids to the US. They can send their kids to other parts of the country. They steal money so they can buy more cars. They can build bigger houses. They don't steal the money for you as a community. So as a community, you need to realize that these thieves don't steal for you. So when the arm of the government comes from them, the judiciary comes from, the prosecutor comes for them and takes them to jail, do not start saying our community is being finished. No. It is that individual. That individual is not stealing for the community. They are stealing for themselves. That's why we need the voter education for people to realize the kind of leaders they want and the kind of leaders they don't want.
But
we are going to do it as a government. We are encouraging my friend here to do it, the church to do it. Let us, all of us as a country, do it so that, like Martin Luther King said, we can get up to the mountain top. And when we get to the mountain top, we'll be able to look across the valley and we're going to see the Kenya we want, which is the promised land. And together we hold hands. I can assure you we are going to get there.
Okay, two things. Alfred was very eloquent talking about what we need and what the government is going to do. My question is, this government, has it taken anyone to jail? No, it hasn't taken anyone to jail. Talking about peace, I've been involved in Picha Mtani for the last 4 years, traveling the country preaching peace. But the truth is, peace alone is not enough, because if the peace is on false foundation, it's going to crumble. If there's no justice, there's not going to be a peace in this country. So what we need to do beyond peace is that we need to ensure that the people who sponsor the violence don't go back into power. If you look at the guys who some alleged to have sponsored the violence, when they go back to those communities, they get big rallies with big crowds because people listen to them. We need to reach a level of maturity where we understand that these people divide us when they want our votes. But when we vote for them, they become friends and we become the victims. But my question is, as we talk about all these lofty words and things that the government is going to do about voter education, my question is, why should I believe you? And in the last 9 years, you guys have done nothing. Why should I believe that you're going to take anyone to jail and no one has been jailed? Because what you do in this country, step aside. Talking about commissions, there's so many commissions formed by the President Kibaki. Nothing has come out of it. Talk about the Mau forest. It was grabbed and some guys have been compensated. While the small squatters have been kicked out. What has the government done that you can say tangibly this government is serious about fighting corruption, has done ABCD? Githong was trying to fight corruption. You guys kicked him out. He went into exile, came back. He did a book called It's a Turn to It. Was anyone jailed? No. The guys who stepped aside are now back in government. One of the guys who were involved in Anglo-Leasing now is a dairy farmer. He stepped aside, but he still kept the billions. NHF money was stolen. On Friday, I saw the parliament threw out the report. Is anyone going to be held accountable? No. Atur Margarian, same thing. Drug dealing, the US gave you a report. The report has been trashed. It's very funny when you see the Keto calling the report black. Because that's what is happening here. So this guy works for the same government and he says about these things like there's another government. Because I would like to know just one case of someone who's in jail today because of what they did or what they have stolen.
One of the two things. One of the tragedies that we've faced in this country is that we've not had proper systems, and it's been very, I got into this country, I started my job when Anglo-Leasing had started. And I've looked at the comedy of errors that have gone on, and one of these tragic things is that for so long we didn't have proper systems. And I'm very, very glad that we now have a constitution that gives tenure, to a prosecutor, the director of public prosecutions, who can prosecute everybody. We have a chief justice who was vetted. We have the judiciary that has been vetted. So things have changed. That's what I'm saying. If anybody stole, and we know people have stolen, even if stolen is sitting out there thinking they'll never be caught, I just to tell them for free, they will face justice.
Their day is coming.
Because their days are coming, because the systems have changed for the better. That's why I'm saying we have a lot of hope. Before, we were operating under different systems, but now as Kenyans, we decided, let's have a new katiba, a new way of doing things, and we have seen it working. We've got Chief Justice, we've got our DPP, we've got new systems in place. What we need to do is that as a people, let us take advantage of these new systems to improve our lives and our welfare. And let us forget, one of the things that we have done, I've worked in government for so long, and my biggest frustration has always been Kenyans always expect the government to do everything. To Bundalangi, it floods, tunaomba serikali itusaidie, which is okay because the government is the one with the resources to help people. But we have reached a stage like where the Americans had been for many years. By the time JFK told them, it is time not to ask what your government or your country will do for you, but what you as an individual can do for your country. I think the initiative you're carrying out is very right. I think the initiative that you are carrying out is proper. You're trying to change this country. You're better than somebody sitting at home just lamenting about it. It's good. It's good. It's a right perspective. What we need to do is that encourage more people to go out there, but to also go out with a focus of getting people to come out to vote, getting people to vote for the right leaders, and encourage people to do it under a peaceful environment, because violence just begets more violence. There's nothing that violence has ever solved in this country and in any country in Africa.
I agree.
So let us continue preaching peace, continue with the initiative, continue with what you are doing, enlighten people, show them what you're doing, but also give them practical solutions of how they can get that extra bread into their table, how they can improve their economic power within the existing system.
Alfred, I'm sure you know that you have one of the toughest jobs in this country.
Yes.
Your job is to sit there and talk for the government, on behalf of the government. Yet you can see very clearly from Boniface, he's completely frustrated by this government. If I look at all the the messages that are coming in on Capital FM Kenya Facebook, on Eric Latiff Facebook, on Twitter, people are just frustrated with the government. And they're taking it all out on you. And it appears like it's Alfred Mutua who has failed us. You have a tough job.
Well, you see,
how do you now make this, basically, as a government spokesman, you're the spin doctor. You come out here and you tell us what should be the right thing to tell us. Are there times when you wake up and you feel, no, today I'm being told to, the brief that I've gotten on my desk is actually not looking like what I know? Are there times when you look at that and you say, no, I'd like to say what I've seen on the ground?
I do a lot of saying about what I've seen on the ground. I do a lot of saying about what I want to say, not once said. That's why I keep quiet a lot about many things that I don't agree with for a very long time. I understand the frustration of the people of Kenya. I understand people can be tweeting, sending SMSs, frustrated. They're not frustrated with me. I'm just a messenger. They're frustrated with the systems that have been in place. That's why I'm saying that we need people empowered to realize that the power does not lie in government or in people in government. The power lies with the people. Somebody said, and this is a message I tend to the youth, that power is not given, it is taken. But people need to realize that they can complain, they can attack, they can insult. But at the end of the day, what are they doing as individuals to make this country peaceful and to work hand together so that if they don't like the present leaders in government, to replace them with better people, so that we can have better people to go on? Because this government did not take over by military power. This government, since independence, has not taken over by coming and beating people up. People go to the ballot box and they vote for the leaders in this government, and the leaders in this government set policies according to how they see things, and the people continue voting for them. So if we are not happy with the current leadership, or we don't think the leadership should have done what it has not done, or blah 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 fish cake, we need to empower people to vote properly. But we also need to, and it is important, give credit where credit is due.
Yep.
We can always attack. We can always say there's been failure here and here and here. And to human, there's error. But we should also give credit where credit is due. We can also give credit to where the government has taken us, the Kibaki government, from 2002 to where we are today. Before we started the interview, Eric was standing by the window. You're telling me when you heard that there would be superhighway. What were you telling me? You say that?
Yeah. When we had the Minister Oburu was launching the Thika superhighway, I was among the people who were very skeptical about it.
Yeah, you laughed about it.
Yep. Yep. And I was sitting at the
you
news
didn't
desk.
think it would be real.
And it didn't look like it was anything.
But now it is real. And there are many things that have happened that are real. If you look at the number of people receiving health care with clinics closer to them, 20 to 30 kilometers than before. If you look at the amount of water, there are a lot of positive things. So what we're saying is that don't just say everything has been bad. Say yes, it is not to the standard we want. But let's look at the positives.
What's right? What's not
let's
right?
Let's look at what is right and say, okay, this has been right, but we can enhance it. This is how we enhance it. It is not where we want it, but let's enhance it. This is bad. We don't want it. Let's get rid of it. Okay. That is now what you call logical thinking and logical planning for a better life.
As
You
we
look at
come-
the negative,
Okay,
you look at
let
the
me say
positives,
something,
and you
Eric.
join them to move ahead.
It's very important that you understand that when we voted for Kibaki and Raila Odinga and Kalonzo and the like, we didn't vote for them to do us a favor. We voted them to do those things. So when you come and tell us we should be happy about that, that's what we're expecting them to do and to do more. So we need to understand that, because Kenyan electorate, when there's the one guy who celebrated the whole country because of managing the CDF, because the rest of it screwed the CDF. But what we need to understand is that when you vote someone to go into a leadership position, they owe you to give you a better service. When I employ you, you owe me to report to work on time and do your work. That's your mandate. So leaders are supposed to be servants of the people because we elect them to do that. Going back about the things that we have done, the progress in the constitution and William Mutunga. William Mutunga is an excellent candidate for the CJ. But when he got into his position, we got a very controversial appointment of the DPP, Kiriako Tobiko, which was not everyone agreed on his appointment. We even have Gedhu as well. So the reality is he cannot prosecute what is should be investigated by the police. So the whole system may be rotten. And when you find the judiciary can only do as much. So if the police don't do their work, Kiriako doesn't do his work, the Gedhu doesn't do his work, Mutunga is handicapped. He can't do as much. So you may have given Mutunga the end of the cake, the best piece of ensuring there is conviction. But he can't get conviction if there's shoddy investigation. He can't get conviction if there's no recommendation of prosecutions. So as Kibaki years comes to a sunset, we'll talk about his failures because he made a lot of promises. 500,000 jobs every year. That never happened. Kazi kwa vijana was a sham. It was a big one of the biggest scandals. Was anyone prosecuted? That's the frustration, that when you build our roads and you provide healthcare to that woman and with this piped water, it's with our taxes. And when you take those loans, my kids are going to pay them. So there's no favor here by the government. We're expecting to do that and to do much more. And then I didn't say that you're the leader we want. I was asking you, because you're saying that you're going to vie, what are you going to vie on? What are your policies? What are you going to do differently that you haven't done in the last 9 years? Because you have seen guys, you jump from civil service and then you return to parliament or into county or to governor. Why are you guys jumping to go into return to another job where the job that you're doing for the last 9 years, you didn't do it well?
Are you expecting me to answer that?
Yes.
I'm not here to discuss about myself. I'm not here to discuss about my plans or my future plans. I'm here to discuss about what we need to do.
You still haven't launched your political
I've not
campaign.
done anything. Yeah, so I'm not here to discuss. I'm not here to justify myself. I don't need to justify myself, my friend. I don't need to.
As we come to the
I'm
end
very
of the show,
comfortable with myself.
as we
where
come
I
to the
am.
end of the
So,
show, let me read one comment here. It's from Kimweldy, who says, "Youths of Kenya do vote, Dr. Alfred." It's not in order for you to
they
actually
vote.
say that they don't vote.
The youth vote, but they don't vote as many as they should. And I think that's a problem. I want the vote to be influenced by the youth much more. You look at the percentage of registered
population
voters
and
who are
registered
youth,
voters.
and the people who show up to vote are much fewer
Yeah.
than other groups. Like mothers and old wazees. So the youth have more power, but they're not able to exercise it. So Kimutai, yes, they vote, but they don't vote as many as they should. So what we need to do is encourage nearly 100% turnout for youth to vote. That's what I'm trying to say. Instead of the 20% of youth like last time.
I'm going to give each of you just a minute to give us your closing remarks. And I'll start with you, Boniface. And you'll first answer this question and then you'll give us your parting shot. The question that I'd like to ask you is, as somebody who is a voter, going to be a registered voter in Starehe constituency, and you're very active and you're very passionate about the kind of Kenya that you'd like us to have, what would you encourage the people of Starehe constituency to look out for in a leader? Where should we look for this leader? Now that you're saying that the right people are not voting, what should we do to encourage the right people to come out and put themselves out there as on the ballot to seek leadership positions so that we can vote for them?
So I think solutions won't come from without; they'll come from within, and we need to look within the communities that who best represents our interest and who can defend our interest best, and then we find ways to ensure those people vie. Because you go to local communities, they know the hard workers, they know people who ensure things get done, and they may have aspirations, but they're hesitant because of the way the politics is. We should encourage them to vie. As the voters, we need to change our expectations from our leaders. We need to be able to define the job description of a member of parliament or governor and say these are our expectations for anyone who's going to vie.
Yeah.
So they sign an MOU with us. So when someone is going to vie, you say these are expectations, and you're going to hold you based on these expectations. But before we even send you to parliament or to state house, or we need to interrogate your past. Where are you coming from? What have you done? What are your achievements? Are you the fit for this job? Because you don't force people to go and vie and they're not the solution that you want. And then they must have tangible solutions for the problems, because I don't think leadership is like witch doctor or things that come with miracles. Leadership is very clear cut. That if you're going to vie, you must have solutions, and they must be tangible. That even if you're saying that you're going to create jobs or you're going to make Nairobi safer, you must be able to tell us how you're going to do that. Because it should be able to be explained. It's not rocket science. That if I'm going to create jobs, this is how I'm going to do it. So the moment you have those solution-oriented leaders with integrity and honest people, then you can vote for them and you should campaign for them. And I think this time around, let's be prepared as Kenyans to fund people who are going to vie instead of the other way around. You normally used to be given handouts, but I think this time around, let's fund our elections, let's fund our politics. That there is someone who's going to vie. If I'm going to vie, whoever is going to vie, say that I'm going to not ask you money. They were saying, don't ask what the government can do for you, don't ask what the leader can do for you, ask what you can do for them to ensure that they go there and clean the place. Because if you don't do that, we'll be held hostage in this country by these same people.
Right.
That the debts that you're paying today, the country debts, 30 years from now, our kids will be paying that. So all of us, collectively, as a country, you may not be a parent today, but tomorrow you're going to be a parent. Ask yourself, what kind of a country do you want your kids to live in 20, 30 years from now? Where do you want this Kenya to be? What's your own vision 20, 30 as a Kenyan? Then vote for the kind of leader who is going to give you and your kids and your grandkids the Kenya you want in 20, 30 years from now.
Thank you. Dr. Mutua.
I totally agree. We are very lucky, I think, as a country, that despite the 2007-2008 violence and the elections, we've been able to pull to work together to have a new constitution and a new way of life. We need to shift our thinking into an ideological thinking. We need to shift people to start thinking about policies, start thinking about what is good for this country, and start thinking about the best leaders that we can have for this country. But more so, we need solutions, practical solutions, especially to help our young people. It's not just about voting. It's not about just going out there. We need to come up with ideas to generate more money in the economy, to grow the economy faster, so that our young people can get jobs and get a livelihood. Telling people that they have to wait until the other general election so that now they can start getting a livelihood, economy pick up, is neither here nor there. When you're hungry today, somebody promising you chapati and nyama choma next month does not help you. So we need to start thinking outside the box. One of the things I was going to do and I'm planning to do is that set up an initiative to ask all business people in this country, people who own businesses in this country, to do something very simple, to create what is called a trickle-down effect. That if they are able, and most of them are able, to take a loss of 15,000, 20,000 shillings or 30,000 shillings less a month and employ 1 or 2 young people who are out there sitting at home unemployed, we may end up very quickly creating 500,000 to 1 million jobs. Those people who are employed, by these people taking just a smaller loss of money, it will mean that those people will now go to the supermarkets and spend. It's called a consumer driven action. They go and spend money. As a result of that, there will be more products being consumed. Manufacturing will rise. So the manufacturers now will employ more people to be the manufacturing. So it will be, you know what I mean?
Chain.
It will be a chain.
Yep.
But those are the kind of practical examples I'm saying that we need to engage in and do things that are practical to help people now and forever. And to remember, let us not lose hope about Kenya. Kenya is a great country. I love this country. We are going very far in this country. We just need to realize that there's no stopping us. If we join hands together with peace, there's no stopping us. We are going to take this country to the promised land.
Thank you very much. That's the government spokesman, Dr. Alfred Mutua. And also in the studio is photo activist Boniface Mwangi. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming and for sharing your thoughts and your ideas on this show.
Cheers.
And
thank you.
It wasn't personal. Actually, they're smiling at each other. It wasn't personal. And thank you for agreeing to be open with each other. And this is a challenge now to everybody who's listening. Well, everybody is giving their idea on the kind of leader that you think that you want. I'd like to go back to what Boniface said. It's about time that we identify the kind of leader that we want and also be ready to put a leader forward and sponsor them to whatever elective position that we want. It's your country. Stop whining. Do something about it. That's what you're supposed to do. My name is Eric Latiff. Do have yourself a wonderful week ahead.
98.4 Capital FM.